April 1741. Cartagena de Indias wakes to British warships on the horizon. 200 ships, 27,000 soldiers. Defending the crumbling fortress stands one man who looks like he crawled from his own grave. Missing a leg, eye, and an arm after 35 years of naval warfare. At 54, he's fought 22 major battles without a single defeat. Enemies call him the Devil of Cartagena because he turns the impossible odds into crushing victories. For 3 decades, he's made a career of destroying fleets that should have destroyed him. The worse the odds, the deadlier he becomes. But what happens when 27,000 British soldiers finally storm his gates? We'll come back to this shocking conclusion later. To answer who the greatest general of all time is, we need to go back to the bloody waters of the Mediterranean, to the smoke-filled battlefields where empires were born and died, to frozen mountain passes where the impossible armies marched toward destiny, back to moments when a single decision shaped the fate of millions, and brilliant minds turned certain defeat into a crushing victory. These are the legends who didn't just fight wars, they rewrote the map of human history. Few Roman generals left a scar on history like Lucius Cornelius Sulla. He did the unthinkable by marching his army on Rome itself, and what made his legacy so important was proving that raw military power could break the Republic from within. In many ways, he showed later Roman strongmen that if you controlled an army, you could control the state. In ancient China, Han Qin rose from obscurity to become one of the most brilliant commanders of his age. What set him apart was his role in helping Liu Bang crush rival powers and establish the Han dynasty through bold strategy, deception, and victories that often seemed impossible. His battlefield genius made him a central figure and one of the biggest turning points in Chinese history. Shaka Zulu transformed the Zulu from a relatively small clan into a powerful and highly organized kingdom that dominated much of southeastern Africa in the early 1800s. His greatest accomplishment was building one of the region's most feared military systems, using new tactics, strict discipline, and centralized power to reshape the balance of power in southern Africa. His rise also helped trigger a period of massive upheaval and migration across the region, showing just how deeply his leadership changed African history. Outnumbered, surrounded, and eventually completely blind, Jan Zizka still kept winning. What made him extraordinary was his ability to turn the Hussites into a deadly fighting force that repeatedly humiliated stronger armies through discipline, innovation, and relentless skill. His success proved that smaller tactics and tougher morale could shatter forces that looked unbeatable on paper. Last we left off with Blas, there were 27,000 British soldiers and 200 ships arriving at his doorstep. What he did next is why he's on this list. The Lazo deliberately sank ships to block harbor entrances, positioned cannons to tear through wooden holes, and used the city's geography like a weapon. Disease, strategic positioning, and his unbreakable will decimated the British forces. By battle's end, the British had lost over half their men. They sailed home in complete disgrace, their invasion shattered by a man who looked more like a war casualty than a defender. De Lezos' defense of Cartagena was more than just a single battle. He saved Spain's critical Caribbean stronghold and prevented British expansion, protecting Spanish colonial interests and preserving the empire's strategic foothold in the New World. And if you think he was unstoppable, buckle up. The last handful will put Blas de Lezo to shame. Speed, aggression, and battlefield instinct made Khalid ibn al-Walid one of the most feared commanders of his era. What made him stand out was his incredible run of victories during the early Islamic conquests, helping reshape Arabia, Iraq, and Syria through relentless military success. His reputation became so formidable that he was remembered as one of the rare commanders who seemed almost impossible to stop in battle. He won over 100 battles without a single defeat, a record so insane it's basically impossible to believe, which is exactly why he's earned our #1 spot on this list.